Bored in Butler County? Need to know where to catch a show this weekend? What events are even happening in the area? I'm Molly Miller, one of the writers behind the Butler Eagles Weekend Entertainment section, and I'm here to banish the boredom from your cold and rainy days. Sign up and receive Miller Minutes, that's my column, and a list of Butler County-based events direct to your inbox every Thursday afternoon by visiting bit.ly/ButlerEagleWE newsletter. That's bit.ly/ButlerEagleWE newsletter. You can also find the latest events under the A&E tab at www.butlereagle.com. Click Weekend Entertainment, or pick up Thursday's print edition of the paper for the latest events. See, there's lots to do in Butler County when you read the Butler Eagles Weekend Entertainment section. Visit bit.ly/ButlerEagleWE newsletter to sign up for the weekly newsletter, so you won't be bored in Butler County again.
Hello, and welcome to this season of Alter Eagle. We are starting season 1 with the topic of addiction in Butler County. Conversations on the physical side of addiction, trauma, the neuroscience, mental health, and stigma surrounding addiction. Experts, resources, and stories from people who have fought addiction head on. I am your host, Laura Krigo. Let's keep the conversation going. Now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. For a long time, I suffered with depression and anxiety. I had tried therapy before, but struggled finding a therapist I connected with until I found BetterHelp. That's why I am so excited to share BetterHelp's mission to make therapy more affordable and more accessible, because finding a therapist can be hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online. Remote therapy sessions, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. Click the link in description and receive 10% off your first month of BetterHelp. And by clicking that link, you support this channel. Plus, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. I was struggling for a long time, and BetterHelp was where I found my therapist, Whitney, who I still see weekly for almost 2 years now. So, if you're struggling, like I was, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in description or go to betterhelp.com/altereagle. That's betterhelp.com/altereagle. There's no better time than now to start your mental health journey. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel. Happy Monday, Alter Eagle. Welcome back to another episode. Really excited about this episode with Julie Hooks. She is so clear-headed, and yeah, I'm sure her sobriety has a lot to do with that. But I love when people come in and they share their personal stories and their path. One of the things I really want to point out here is someone else's path might not be your path. We live in a world of comparison. We live in a world of social media where we see someone who does something a very specific way and we think that's the way. Maybe it is. Maybe it is the way. Maybe that is what you need to do in order to get to where you want to go, to reach your goal. But don't hold on to it so hard that you get lost in the journey. What I loved about sitting down with Julie was we really were able to just have such a real conversation, and knowing that she used something that she was passionate about that was positive, working out, staying healthy, focusing on herself to get through something that she didn't want to have to explain to people. She didn't want to have to explain why she wasn't drinking. The conversation, just so good. I don't really have too much more to say other than that. And that the one thing that really stood out to me that I wanted to point out, and I suffer with this as well, is boundaries. If you ask someone a question, hey, would you like to go do this? Hey, would you like to eat this cookie? Hey, would you like to go out and get a drink? And someone says, well, I'm not really drinking right now. That's the answer, right? Oh, we don't have to drink, or we could just go and hang out and catch up for a bit, or go get coffee. But if someone says, no, thank you, let's go ahead and start to take that as the polite way of just saying, it has nothing to do with you. It's just my choice. Not interested. Thank you. And let's move on. I know it's easier for me to say that than for us to do it, especially when we approach situations where maybe we're feeling a little lonely or vulnerable, and we need someone to be in our vulnerability and maybe our sadness with us. Well, that's just not the way that life works. You're going to have to go through things. Very Han Solo. Yes, I just made a Star Wars reference. So for anyone out there, yes, I'm a Star Wars nerd. But I do believe that respecting one another and just supporting people and meeting them where they're at is such a powerful tool that we all have the ability to use. So without further ado, let's hear from Miss Julie Hooks.
Just a weensy bit closer.
Okay.
There,
Is that better?
there she is.
Okay.
That's it. All right. We have the gorgeous Julie Hooks sitting down today with us. Julie and I both went to Butler, but you're younger than me.
I am. A little bit.
You're a young lass.
My birthday is next month.
Me too. Wait, when's your birthday?
May 15th.
May 23rd. May birthdays.
May is good.
May is a good month.
Mm.
It's a good month to have a birthday because usually you've got you can do stuff outside. I like being outside.
Good weather.
Good weather, which we haven't had a lot of that lately, but that's okay, right? We're going to...
Next week, we should be having some warmer weather.
I hope so. I wore my coat today. I was like, why am I wearing a coat?
Same. It's supposed to be 80.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Toes are coming out.
Yours, not mine.
You're like, they're not ready yet.
They will be in tennis shoes.
They will be in sneakers.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, Julie Hooks is sitting down with us today to share her story. You have an epic story. She is a baddie. I told her this last time. Did we have a last time? Maybe. We've done this before.
We had practice.
We had a practice. But Julie is... I see your post about 5 a.m. and I'm like, yep, I can get up at 5 a.m. I haven't been at the gym at 5 a.m. in a very long time, but I've done it. I'm scooting there. I'm trying to get back to that 5 a.m. club. I'm trying to get there slowly but surely.
One of the good things about me not drinking anymore has allowed me to set up a really good bedtime ritual. So I've created a parameter, or not a parameter, but a non-negotiable with myself that I need to at least be laying down to sleep between 9 and 9:30. So during the week, 9 to 9:30 is when I go to sleep, because I do wake up at 3 a.m. in order for me to be up and ready to be at the gym at 5 o'clock for my first clients.
Yeah, I think that's remarkable. And I understand that because whenever I was teaching, I couldn't just get up and roll out the door.
Yeah.
I had to get up. When I was drinking coffee, I just gave up coffee, by the way. And I don't think it's permanent, but I needed to
try it.
I wasn't feeling great. I was feeling bloated. And so I'm really into matcha. And then I just got the Rise mushroom coffee, which I'll do with almond milk. And they say water, but I've been doing it with almond milk. I add a little bit of agave nectar and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. So I have noticed a difference, but I just started. So obviously it's going to take the time for me to really feel the benefits.
Yeah, but still.
And when you're in your 40s, the hormones just start doing all kinds of fun things. So anyways, but I understand that you have to have a set sort of regimen.
Yeah.
especially like when you're working out, because I was always pretty big on doing a protein shake like as soon as I was done, within those first like 20 to 30 minutes after I teach a class. I did get into a bit of a habit of I would do chocolate almond milk sometimes. If I had that at my house, I'd throw it in a shaker and make it a little frothy, and maybe throw some protein powder in there. But I always had to have something right away just to, especially for when I was a spin instructor, all of that sweat, replenishing all of those nutrients that I just sweat out. So yeah, it's possible. 3 a.m. Ooh, okay.
Yep, but it's 3 a.m. throughout the work week, and then on the weekends it's still 5 on Saturdays, 7 on Sundays, all so that I can get enough sleep to get me like fully recharged, but then still be able to, have a life.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about the weekends, is how easy is it for you? So you're probably still going to bed at the same time, but then being able to be a little more, do you work out on Saturdays too?
No, I typically do train a handful of clients or have like new client meetings Saturday mornings, Saturday afternoons during the like January through June. I spent a couple hours at the dance studio. That's okay.
No, you're fine.
Dance studio.
It was like in your face, and your face is so beautiful. I didn't want it to be in your face. You know what I mean?
We have opening hunt number rehearsals. So typically like my day starts at like 7:30 in the morning on Saturdays and then doesn't stop until about 2:30. And then from that point I have my weekends. So it's one of those things like, if we do stay up a little later, it's till maybe 10:30, but like for me to wake up at 7 on Sundays allows me to sleep in, but I'm able to then get to bed around 9:30 again and be able to wake up normal on Monday morning. So it's like, as long as I kind of keep that flow of things happening, I get enough sleep, I wake up completely rested, and I have no issues falling asleep, everything, but it's keeping that schedule that's really helped out. And I think that like, when I was drinking, I was staying up really late and my sleep was interrupted. My sleep was not good. So I would wake up exhausted, and it was just a cycle that just continued to keep happening. And not doing that has, I feel good. Going to bed later or getting up earlier, I still feel much better as like a sober person than I ever did when I was a drinker.
Well, one of the things that you pointed out too is that, there's no judgment on anyone who drinks. That's one big thing that Julie said to me. You're an advocate for sobriety because of how it has made you feel.
Right.
And how it's almost, I don't want to say enhanced your life, but kind of, right? Don't you feel like it's really made you step into like your power?
I feel like it's allowed me to be very clear with my thoughts and clear with my decisions. And I don't want to say I don't question the things that I do, but like, I just have a clear view of things now. And it's allowed me to shoot for goals, do different things that I didn't think I'd be able to do, just because I have a clear mind. And, I've always had that like growth mindset, but like I truly feel it more now than ever. And, being proud of it, being a sobriety advocate is huge to me, because there's so many people out there that, are sober but don't like to speak about it. They feel judgment from others. So I want to sit here and cheer for them. There are people who have come to me and been like, I stopped drinking and I was acting this way towards my family, and I really needed to change. And I'm so sorry that I'm telling you this, but I needed to tell somebody. And that makes me feel fantastic for them, that I'm someone they can reach out to, even though nobody else needs to know. Like I want to speak out and be the voice for people that can't speak out, because I just had a recent interaction with somebody. They had something important going on in their lives and decided to do it completely sober. And they didn't have to tell me anything, but just said, I've seen your posts on your stories, and it really inspired me to take on this endeavor completely sober. And I put everything on the table, and I have zero regrets, and whatever happens, happens. And it was amazing to hear that from somebody that I didn't expect to listen to the things that I had to say. And that was very impactful. And I speak of my sobriety and my story because, I wasn't the typical drunk. I wasn't the typical alcoholic. The way I used to drink is how a lot of people currently drink. And it wasn't until I had realizations of things occurring that made me realize I needed to slow down and then stop completely. But that's why I speak out, because I think it's important to let people know that you don't have to be the atypical alcoholic to have a drinking problem. Mm-hmm. And I made poor choices, and you can do better. You can be better. And I feel like sometimes I put it out there and people realize that.
Yeah. Well, they see it too, because you are very consistent. And that's one of the things, being a creature of habit. You're a creature of habit.
Yes.
I have had those moments in my life. I don't feel like I'm in that place right now personally, but working towards it, right? Because life ebbs and flows.
Right. 100%.
And I'm sure you've definitely had a lot of times where, one of the things you told me, I started to say a sentence and then I'll stop because then another thought pops in and I switch over. It's like I'm just clicking different tabs. I think people probably realize that by now listening to the podcast.
Yeah,
but
okay.
And then I lost my thought. Oh my gosh, Laura, get it together. You had mentioned that something that's sort of still something you do. Let's say if you go out bowling, right? And you can be around people that are drinking, but someone's like, hey, can I go get you something? You're like, I'll have a club soda. But you physically have to go to the bar and you have to see the soda being poured.
Right.
Because something in your brain, you have this worry or this fear or even an anxiety.
Right.
That somehow alcohol is going to end up in that cup.
Mm-hmm. That's the one holdup that I still have to this day, is that, if we go somewhere, we went to the bowling alley and we were thirsty, and my one girlfriend's like, we have to go get a drink over at the bar. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let me get you a drink. I haven't gotten anybody an alcoholic beverage in so long. And I was so excited to actually buy somebody an alcoholic drink. I'm like, man, I haven't done that in so long. But, I got her whatever she got, and I wanted a diet soda. And I even knew the bartender, but I still had to Hawkeye her because I was so nervous that she would accidentally, pour something in there. Mm-hmm. Even though I told her I just wanted a Diet Coke, my brain needed to watch it being poured because I didn't trust that she wouldn't have accidentally put something in it. A lot of people will ask, well, what if you go somewhere and they have mocktails? I can't have a bartender make a mocktail because then what if they put something in it? The idea of them doing that and completely eliminating my sobriety scares me.
Yeah. Wow.
That other people are not going to take my sobriety as serious as me.
Do you think that your sobriety almost signifies like a power? I don't know how to explain what I'm thinking.
Self-control.
Yeah, it's the self-control that you have worked so hard for. And like you said, it could be like in the snap of, in a snap, it could all be gone.
Right.
Because of someone else's mistake. And yeah, that's huge though. I don't think people understand how precious it is to you.
Right. And that's the thing, the whole self-control thing, I can kind of parallel it to, talking to different personal training clients with, nutritional topics. And, I had a dance student bring in cookies, and would you like a cookie, Miss Julie? And I said, no, thank you. There was another instance. I forget if it was at the gym or where were we? And somebody was like, would you like one of these? And I said, no, thank you. And it's a lot of people are so used to getting things for free. Just because it's offered to you for free, you need to take it. And, like, it's just like somebody going somewhere out to a bar and being like, hey, let me get you a drink. You may have said, hey, I don't want to drink tonight. And then because someone offered it to you, you can't say no. A, because it's free, or B, because you don't want to hurt their feelings. And I feel like I felt that way a lot. That I had worked 2 jobs and felt like I was overworked. And I had gotten to the point that when I went out, if someone bought me a drink, I was going to take it. It was free. I don't have to pay for that. And I think a lot of me drinking in excess dealt with the fact that I didn't say no because I didn't have the self-control. And it's not like I was, drinking and stumbling and blacking out immediately. It was just, oh, I get a free drink. Sure.
Yep.
So, I find that parallels with my self-control with when it comes to being offered snacks. Like, no, thank you. I don't need that donut, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. Like the self-control, I think, is that like big thing is like I've been able to parallel that across many different levels of my life.
Of course. Well, that's something a lot of people can relate to. I can relate to that, feeling a pressure from others, almost like an expectation to say yes, right? And
right.
It's hard, and I get a little snippy if I've said no, thank you. And then another's like, no, really, because I will over-explain myself.
Right.
And that's something from my childhood that I feel like I have to explain myself. And sometimes it annoys people. And I'm like, that's just who I am.
Right.
I will explain myself. I will explain to you why I'm saying no. Because sometimes I feel like I have to explain why I have to say no to you.
Yes.
So then it just became a habit, which is now as an adult something I'm super aware of. And I hate that I do that. I actually despise that I do that. So I can understand whenever someone asks you and you say no, thank you. Why is that not good enough? Why do we, as humans, why do we question other people's choices?
Yeah. You give a parameter and then people are still going to try to, go past that parameter and ask more. I don't know.
I've very much recently been living in this world of if you aren't ready for the answer, if you're not ready for the answer, don't ask the question.
Yeah.
You might not get the answer that you're looking for.
Correct. Yeah. 100%.
And that's part of relationships. That's part of, and just because you get an answer that might not be what you want to hear or what you want, it doesn't mean that someone's completely like cutting you off, right? You're not saying, I don't like you by saying no, thank you to someone's cookies so it's interesting. I think this is why this stuff is important for us to talk about, right?
Right.
We need to be able to say no. We need to be able to respect someone. If someone's like, you know what, I'm just not drinking right now.
Right.
They don't have to explain why.
Totally.
I mean, the first time I ever took a Bikram yoga class in New York City, I'll never forget. I took it because my knees, I knew that my calves were too tight. That's why I had bursitis in college in my right knee. And it was from my calves being too tight from sprinting. And I went to PT. So I knew, I was like, this is something I have to be aware of. And it had flared up again in New York to where I was the girl in the subway taking one step at a time. And people were so annoyed at me. During rush hour, I was getting blasted from the back. And I'm like, I cannot walk one step at a time. I have to literally take it each step with each foot. So I had heard about Bikram, that it was like the thing to do. And I was so anxious. My friends were going out the night before. There was like a going away party. And everyone's like, oh, are you drinking? And I was like, no. And they're like, why not? And because I'm taking a Bikram yoga class tomorrow at 8 a.m. And I don't know. I don't want to die because it's going to be 110 degrees in the room and it's a 90-minute class.
Right.
And I'm also trying to really fully do this the right way.
Right.
And that's a huge part of your story too. You had decided to stop drinking and you were able to communicate with people because you were in this period of,
transition
into your sobriety, that you're getting ready to do your show. So your bodybuilding shows.
Yes. Whenever I made the
Do you
decision,
see what these women are doing in this world here to get ready for these shows? Okay. Is anyone paying attention?
it's a lot.
It's a lot of work.
When I talk about self-control,
It's not just the
earlier,
gym.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of self-control, a lot of scheduling, in and out of the gym.
Meal
dealing-
prep.
meal prepping, cardio, stretching, any type of like recovery work. The strength training, the posing. It's essentially
lot.
like a full-time job on top of everything else that you do. But
Yeah.
the time frame that it takes for the show prep, and then what it takes to lead into the show, and then the month or two following show to transition out of that. So it is a very large what do you want to call it? Overhaul.
Overhaul. I
But
thought you were going to say upheaval.
but it definitely, whenever I decided to do this show, it would have been my third prep, and I believe my second season of actually competing, because I tried to compete my very first season, and I had gotten until maybe like 10 weeks out, and I didn't follow through with it. So I started transitioning into my health and fitness lifestyle in 2015, and I tried to compete in 2016. I was not actually successful to compete until 2017. So the year that I decided to do a show completely sober was 2018. I had competed previously, and had spoken to different people about like what they do for their own preps, and someone had informed me on what they do for alcohol consumption. So I was like, okay, I'm going to still drink until 7 weeks out, and then once I hit 7 weeks, I'm going to stop drinking, and then I'm going to ride in the rest of the prep for the show. So that's what I had done the first time. And, when 2018 rolled around, I had months leading into the start of my show prep that were less than desirable. I had moments of getting blackout drunk at work events and saying not so good things to management. I had moments that I completely blacked out and said obscene things to people. Don't remember it. I had many moments of driving completely blackout drunk from the bar back to my home, passed out in hallways, lost personal items for days. There were so many things that happened on the inside that not many people saw. And the show was a reason for me to stop, because I had tried to stop a few months prior to getting ready to do the show. And
Keep talking.
I was, sober for about a month, and I was urged to drink again. So I stopped drinking for 4 weeks, and you can drink wine. It's not going to hurt you. It's a easy alcohol. And at that point I just said, you know what? Okay. And I started drinking again, and it went from wine back to whiskey. And it wasn't just a mixed drink. It was whiskey on the rocks, a double. And so it went from, a social drinking thing back to me having to have it after I got off work because I thought I needed it. So it became, a coping mechanism. And then it went back to me driving drunk again, drinking, 5 days a week. I just got to the point that I knew that this show could be the reason why I stopped drinking. And I made the decision to stop. So the day that my show prep started, I told myself I wasn't going to drink anymore. And that was May 8th, 2018.
And we're coming up on an anniversary.
Oh, we are. It's going to be 6 years on May 8th.
That'll be 2 days after this episode drops.
Yay.
That's what we're going to use. I'm sorry. I just blasted you in the
That's
air.
okay. I was like, whoa.
Whoa. I'm videographer and editor and soundboard and also trying to talk to people, you know?
You are
I'm
the
trying.
master.
We'll see about that. We'll see about that.
But yeah, the 8th of May will be my 6-year anniversary. And I think it's just wild because I keep thinking about like when I first got sober and how I felt about acknowledging it. You know, and we've talked about this before, but like, you know, for me that first year, like because I was doing a show prep, I was able to use that as like a scapegoat for the first 6 months. So, cause like leading into the show, people, you know, it's summertime. Are you going to have a drink? No, thank you. You know, I have a show coming up and I just, you know, I won't, I'm not drinking. So by me telling people that I was getting ready to do a show, they were like, oh, okay. And they never asked me again if I was going to be having anything. So they knew I was show prepping and that I wasn't drinking, and then they left me alone. So, you know, that just continued on through my show prep. It was just easier because I didn't have to have people asking me why, because they knew why. And whenever my show happened, you know, it was really, really cool situation because, you know, not drinking anymore, my life had transitioned differently in those last, you know, 6 to 8 months. And whenever I was doing the show, it was like, wow, I just got a first place. Wow, I just got another first place. Wow, I just got a third first place. And then they pulled us out for the overall, and there were the top 4 in each like height class. And they pulled us off to the side, and the winner is, and they said my name, and I was like completely like mind boggled. It was a really cool experience because I felt like I won in so many different ways, because I was not only winning at the sobriety thing, but I was also winning a title of the overall winner of bikini I'd never had before. So it was a really, really cool experience.
Yeah, the sacrifices that you made.
Yeah.
And the change that you had made, which ultimately was something that was, you know, it's sad that you had to say that was the reason why you weren't drinking.
Right.
But we understand why.
Yeah.
Had this conversation in the beginning of this episode where when you say no and people are like, oh, just try one. And you're like, do I have to explain why I'm not eating sweets, or why I'm not drinking, or why I'm not eating carbs?
I can't tell
not
you.
carbs, but because I'm all about carbs. Let's back that up. Hold on a second.
We
She's gonna be
love-
like, actually, we need to talk about carbs. No,
I know.
But
bagels.
carbs are yes, but there's good carbs, there's bad carbs. But we're also, you know, it's hard.
When someone says that they are not going to do something, and rather than embracing them and being like, great, good for you, there's always a why. And then you don't cheer for them. You try to get them to change, because, and I tell my clients all the time with different situations that misery loves company. And we've all heard that phrase from our grandmas and our moms, but like misery
Very
does love
true.
company. And there are some people that aren't going to cheer for you. But then also on the flip side, some people don't know. They might be in a dark place, or they might be in a place that they feel like they just don't understand. So sometimes it's not even a negative question as to why. They're curious. But it's like, it is one of those things that we're not okay with just getting a flat answer from people, you know, no, thank you. Or I don't want one right now. Well, why? I had a conversation with someone, and they decided that they were not drinking at an event. And their buddies were like, we can't trust you. Because they were all consuming alcohol, but yet they decided not to, and they were questioned about it. And it just makes me feel so sad that, you know, someone just not wanting to is going to feel pressure from multiple sides to do it because they don't want to, and the others say they can't be trusted. Like, in my brain, that doesn't make sense. Like,
No, it doesn't.
It's crazy what some people will say to others when it comes to defending themselves with
And their choices.
and especially their choices with alcohol.
Yeah, I find that I've had a lot of these conversations with people close to me at times too, where I have to almost set a boundary and say, one no is the no.
Yeah.
Typically, if your immediate response is no, thank you, no, then that's the answer, right? It's hard to understand as an adult because it's like, well, didn't we already go through this peer pressure period in our life and already we made it through that? Like, why am I back in this place where I'm dealing with situations that I thought I wouldn't have to deal with as an adult, but I am. And sitting here and, looking back at my life, and a lot of it, for a lot of people, like you said, you don't know where someone's at, right?
Correct.
So sometimes it is maybe just being like, again, no, thank you. Or I've even gotten to the place where I'm like, I don't really want to talk about it. It's just, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, back early on in my sobriety, I felt like I had to tell everybody I don't drink.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
It was a defense mechanism because I was not fully comfortable and confident within myself. So like it was the best way for me to stop it. Hi, would you like a drink? I don't drink. They may have been asking me for water.
Yes.
But my brain had to let them know immediately that I don't drink alcohol. So,
drink can be water, can be soda.
It could be anything. I was just so hyped up on making sure people knew that I didn't drink, so they didn't offer it to me. And, throughout, I want to say up until maybe my first year, I started to feel like I didn't have to explain it as much. And, even through like the second year, I felt like I didn't have to explain it at all. Like I got so comfortable in my own sobriety that like I didn't need to put like a billboard out about it, and now, within my coaching, I'll have conversations with people and I'll give them just information about, once alcohol is consumed, the percentage of what protein synthesis how it can lower in the system until alcohol is completely out. That it stops you from absorbing certain nutrients until it's completely out of your system. How it slows down digestion, and just kind of give them like, if you are drinking X amount of days, can we drop it down to maybe this many days? So I don't try to push my choosing of not drinking alcohol on others, but I do like to urge and give them some information on if the amount that they're currently having could be detrimental to their goals. Because it's not my place to tell them to stop drinking, but it is my place to advise them to adjust it a little bit.
Of course.
And there's many times, like my one client was having a bachelorette party.
Oh, the bachelorette parties.
And I was like, homegirl, make sure you get some electrolytes with you.
Yes.
And especially if, for the next day. And she's like, I don't want to get, I don't want to get overly out of control. And I just said, stick your grounds. And if you want to alternate drink and water and a drink and a water, if that's what you want to do, do it. If that's what you don't want to do, don't do it. But do what you want.
Yes. Stand your ground.
Yeah. But I told her, I was like, make sure you take your electrolytes. Like, I didn't judge her one bit because not everyone has or had a problem like I did.
And that's the thing. We didn't really get into it yet, but let's get into it.
Okay.
How do you say, not a typical alcoholic by definition, back to your childhood. And then that DUI.
Yeah. So growing up, I was around people drinking. My grandfather, if you listen to the podcast with Josh Bobby, he talked a little bit about that. So if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it. It'll give you some more insight on that history of my family. But my grandfather was always in the basement. My grandfather was always at his couch playing the guitar with a drink. He was always drinking. So that was anytime we were over there for holidays, Grandpa was in the basement and we knew that he was consuming. And it wasn't a bad situation. It was never a bad situation, but that's just what Grandpa did. So I was around a fully stocked bar from however age I was up until, a senior in high school. And my brother growing up, he was an underage drinker. So I had to be around that and see it.
How much younger than Josh are you?
7 years younger.
Okay.
So it was like I was able to see that, and like, again, nothing terrible happened in front of me like that growing up. But as I did get older, I had to see instances of him coming home 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. Actually, who knows what time it was. Police lights, the bumper in the front yard, and cops there and putting him in handcuffs. There were moments that I was woken up to the door being knocked on and my brother being passed out-ish on the front porch, and I had to carry him up the steps. There were times that I had to, get the, everybody, you probably remember this, the big bowls, the puke bowl for when you had the flu.
Oh.
I would have to get something along the lines of that just to make sure that if he did get sick, that he had that. So I just remember having to take care of other people a lot.
So, I mean, you would have been, what, 10 when you were doing this? 9?
It was like, I was observing the alcohol drinking probably around 10 or 11. And, from that point, me having to help him in the house I was probably like 16 at that point, and he was in his early 20s. So there were some situations that I felt like I had to take care of him or other people. And it just, I don't know, like I feel like I was taking care more of others and less thinking about myself. And like,
well, at an age like that,
yeah,
to experience that and have the knowledge to just help, right? To just step in and involve yourself in the situation and help. But not being aware, when we're young, we don't know that we're supposed to be taking care of our mental health, and we're supposed to be talking about things that are bothering us. And we would talk with our friends and stuff, but most of the time at that age, it was boys in school and dance and whatever else gossip was going on, right? That's what was dance team tryouts or this or that, or it wasn't like the real stuff.
Right.
Because we didn't realize that all of that was starting to like build up.
Yeah.
Where later on it was going to be the thoughts in our head, which caused us to take certain actions or make certain decisions. So,
right. So like for me, I experienced those things growing up, and it didn't feel like it was any type of like incident of trauma to me. It was just something that happened. I was there. I had to help. But like growing up, especially when I turned, 16, 17, 18, it was random underage drinking, but it was at homes, or it was like, it was controlled with like parents were there, and it was controlled. So it was like, oh, you guys can't go anywhere, but you can stay here. And being enabled younger, you hear a lot of research on, underage drinking and what it leads to as you get older. And, I went to college. I had fun. I partied. I was part of a sorority. So there were events and different things. So again, there were alcohol consumption, And it was just your atypical what you do in college. But with all of that, I had jobs. I was always working. Throughout college, I had 2 jobs. Once I graduated college, I had 2 jobs. And it was the 2010 whenever I was working a 8 to 5 job, leaving and going straight to a restaurant and waitressing from, 5:30 till close, and then going home and doing it all over again, multiple days a week. And then my weekends turned into, oh, I can do things. Fear of missing out became a part of my life. FOMO was a huge thing for me.
I was just about to say FOMO.
You just wanted to say it.
I was like, she said it. Okay.
I took your word.
Yeah.
But FOMO was a big thing for me. Like, oh, well, I have to go out because I'm going to miss something. And I didn't have to. But I felt like if I didn't go out to the bar, that I was going to miss something that happened. So
I feel that in my bones.
So my social surroundings was work and the bar and being at home. And I didn't want to be alone at home. So I decided to go to the bar. And, that weekend that I did get my DUI, it was one of those things that I had an event that I went to that I was drinking. Once I came home for that event, I should have stayed home, but I wanted to go out and drink more because it was early in the evening and I work all the time. So I wanted to go back out. And because I chose to go back out, I was in my car. And because I'd been drinking at that event previous, it was free. You can drink whatever you want when it's free. And so when we talked about earlier about can't say no to free, it was free drinks. And then I wanted to go out because I didn't want to miss anything. And I felt that I work so much, I need to go back out. And that's whenever I was driving down the street, I was not paying attention to how I was driving. And I looked in the rearview mirror and there were the police lights. And in that moment, my heart sank because I knew what was happening. And it was a very tough moment for me because at that point, I don't even think I had a parking ticket, let alone my first interaction with
a police officer is scary.
Right.
Sorry, guys. We know you're doing your jobs, but those lights flash up in your rear view and you're like, what's happening?
So it was a very sobering moment for me, just because at that point I had never been in trouble and that was what was happening to me. I had slowed down and essentially stopped my drinking from when that happened, because I was just completely, I was mortified by what had happened. And thankfully where I worked, they worked with me. I had lost my license for 60 days and not 30 days like some people do, just because of my blood alcohol level being as elevated as it was. And part of my job consisted of driving, and where I worked was able to work with me, and I didn't, nothing bad happened. But again, it wasn't something I could keep secret.
Yeah.
People knew about it.
That's good to hear, though, that your work, I think that's another topic here on the podcast, is really shifting our mindset when it comes to whether it's hiring someone or if you have an employee who does have a substance abuse problem, finding it within us to take a step back and maybe look at this person and realize that there's probably something more going on here, which is how they ended up in the situation that they're in.
Right.
But to take a job away from someone, you know, we talk about the things that we need, the basic essentials, right? We need food, water, shelter. Like if you think about it, food, water, shelter, food, water, shelter.
Right.
We are obviously in a society now where we need a lot more, or need, as I do air quotes for anyone who's not watching. Need is a interesting word. I use this a lot in relationships where I'm like, I don't need you. I want you in my life, but I don't need you. It's sort of like when it comes to substances, there's a need for a substance to physically be able to, whether it's socialize or go out or feel happy, or I've been in this situation where it's like to be able to get out of bed and feel good about myself today and be able to like get up and not lay in bed all day. And then nighttime falls and then I feel like even more crap about myself.
Right.
Because I didn't do anything all day, but yet I felt like I couldn't because I was so low.
Yeah.
At such a low point. And then it's typically a day where you wake up and you look out inside and you're like, awesome. Do we live in Seattle? Because I think it's been raining forever.
Yeah.
And the sky is gray. And that's definitely a thing. Seasonal depression. So that's what people need to understand with these situations. Like you said, you knew in that moment, you were like, you could feel a shift almost. It's almost like I feel like those feelings, like your heart sinking.
Yes.
And the immediate like feeling like sober, which obviously, you know, we know chemically you're not, but that feeling of feeling like, well, everything that happened today, everything great that happened today, it just got wiped away.
Right.
In one moment. Mm-hmm. How do we move forward from that? So jumping now back to where we've kind of already been, do you feel like it was baby steps for you?
I feel like I had to come to the decision on my own. I had to have realizations about myself in order for me to realize that it was just not for me. 'Cause like, you know, and I've said it before, like I was a social drinker and maybe I used it to relieve stress. You know, I don't feel like I was the person that felt like I needed it. But, you know, after working, I said, oh, I should have one, you know, I need this to like calm down. But it wasn't like I needed it to fill a void. Like I wasn't like, oh my God, I need a drink. And then instantly the drink would make me feel better. It was one of those, I was allowing myself to give myself reasons to have an alcoholic beverage. So like,
well, that's important.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure that anyone that's listening, so many people will relate to what you just said, right?
Right.
Even if someone hears this and they think, oh, well, that's not me. That's not how but you know inside if you are using substances to mask, or for me, it was, oh, I need a drink to feel better,
right? To
feel almost like I felt like I could exhale, which is such a weird, that's how I felt. Yeah. That's how I would feel. I was at points like that. So everybody needs to understand that even if your story is not exactly the same, if any of this is resonating with you, that there is hope, right?
Right.
And to me, you're an anomaly. Because
my story is definitely different than
others.
It
is. Yeah. But that's another huge part of this. Embrace what your story is, where you are at, and be willing to try. Maybe you might need to try different resources or toolboxes. Right. You know, Josh says his toolbox was therapy. That was sort of his thing, right? For some people, it is AA. For some people, it is group therapy. For some people, it is going to be going to rehab.
Yeah. And
for some people, such as yourself, maybe there is something that you're super passionate about.
Right.
And you're just kind of skimming the surface and you know you can shoot all the way for the moon.
Right. And like for me, you know, I just recognized that what I was currently doing was not working for me. And I was able to use my show prep as like, you know, a sled to ride down the hill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
It was like my sled to help me get down the mountain. And, you know, I was able to use that to get over the bumps, those first 6 to 8 months. And once I hit my show, I was like, I've gotten this far. I should go further. Let's see how I feel whenever a year rolls around. And once the year hit, I was like, this was nice. I'm going to keep going. And like I said, I had to explain myself less to people the longer I've been sober. And now I'm okay with acknowledging whatever day it is of my sobriety. Because at first I felt like me acknowledging 6 months, 1 year, that's what I should do. And that I shouldn't be necessarily talking about it because day 632 doesn't matter. But in all reality, me being excited about not drinking and being alcohol free is super important, because me speaking about being happy that I'm sober, glad that I'm sober, proud that I'm sober, can allow somebody else to think the same. Just like the different conversations I've had that I spoke to you about, different people have publicly or quietly acknowledged that they've either tried sobriety for reasons or currently are doing it. And, if I can impact those people, or even continue to impact those people, or help others want to try it, then I feel like I did good, because I know it's helped me. And I just want to help people. Like, I always tell my dancers, like, not only do I want you to be good dancers, I want you to be good people. Mm-hmm. And, being able to just show someone that, like, I support them, that I encourage them, that I'm here and I'm proud of them, that's huge.
Dang, girl, you just like brought that to a finish. I was like, holy moly, she's preaching to us.
I feel like the black cloud that was over top of me for so long, it disappeared, and I was able to see things for what they were. And I was able to recognize that what I was doing was not working for me, and I had to make a change. And I'm just so thankful that bodybuilding came into my life. I did a interview for a social media page, and they had asked some questions, and I truthfully didn't have like a true moment of realization that I feel like the concept of bodybuilding saved my life until I answered those questions in that interview. Because I had drank and I wanted to do it differently. And to be able to see how far I could push myself in that show prep without any alcohol, and then to come off on top, you know what I mean? At the end of it, it was like icing on the cake. But like, I never realized that where my life would be if I didn't choose to compete and didn't choose to just be sober for that season,
Absolutely. Very, very powerful.
One thing that I didn't talk about that I wanted to add in was whenever I was having those moments of blacking out, speaking out to people, saying, lewd and rude things to people, those following days, I would apologize, and the response would be, "It's okay, don't worry about it. You were just drunk." And I can definitely say that I heard that phrase a lot from many different people. And it was in those moments that, like, I feel like I almost needed somebody to sit there and say, "It's not okay. You need to get it together." But because drinking is such a common thing, and that people do kind of act a fool when they do consume, that just using the phrase, "It's okay, you were just drunk," is something that we hear more than not. And I feel that the accountability factor, if it was put in place, to let people know that the way that they did act was out of line, that it could help change the trajectory. And, it was a few moments that some people did say, "Hey, you are acting a certain way." And, that definitely helped me stop drinking that first time. that kind of gave me that glimpse of what 4 weeks of not drinking would look like, because it was brought to my attention that my actions were out of line. So, you know, enabling from others is definitely something that I see happening more than not. And, you know, I wish, you know, I can't say I wish, but like if I was called out on sooner or held accountable for my actions earlier, the trajectory of how things happen may have changed differently. But I am very thankful for how everything happened, the timeline of everything. I feel like it was all meant to happen the way that it did.
Well, life is interesting that way,
Right.
where it does do that. But a really good message for anyone out there who maybe has someone in their life that you can recognize that maybe they have a problem. Nothing is going to change unless you have conversation.
Right.
And I'm a huge advocate for, yes, it is what you're saying, but it is how you're saying it.
Yeah.
So always leading with compassion and empathy, and whether those are the same things, but being kind in your messaging and just saying, just concerned, just a little concerned. I know that you recognize this. I know that you're feeling, you know, after you hear what you've said or done, that you do feel that and you hold on to that. And I obviously don't want you to feel that way, but what can I do?
Yeah.
A lot of times it's not going to someone with a solution and telling them what to do, right?
Yeah.
Because that's, if I could tell you how many times people are like, this is what you should do, this is what you should do. I'm like, cool, okay, I'll just change my entire chemistry of my body and how I think and feel and everything that I've been through in my life. And I'll just do what you think I should do because you think that's the right thing, because you care about me.
Right.
I understand. But I've got to be able to recognize it myself. But sometimes it does take for someone to come to you and just say, hey, if ever there's anything I can do, sometimes that olive branch is all that's needed.
Right.
Because then the next time maybe they realize and they're like, oh, I'm going to call Julie, or I'm going to call this person,
Right.
because I know that they're going to be able to support me in this and hear me. So yes, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. It was one of those things that I just wanted to make sure that we talked about, because it was something that resonated with me since I've become sober, is that I wished that, you know, I was held accountable more for my actions. And, you know, it's important for people to hear that and see that.
Yeah.
And to just not be afraid to acknowledge, you know, 1 day, 6 days, 21 days. It's 366. If you want to acknowledge that you are happy that you are sober, or happy that you are alcohol free, you can celebrate it and spread joy and not be embarrassed. Because, you know, if you're happy about being sober, enjoy it, embrace it, share it. There are so many people out there that feel the same as you do, and they're just afraid to acknowledge it. Mm-hmm. And you can be that open voice for the ones that don't like to speak about it. I can say that, you know, the things that have happened to me since stopping drinking, you know, like I can wake up with a clear mind every morning. You know, I don't wake up having any anxiety thinking about like if I said something that I don't remember. Like I enjoy the way that my body looks and feels. You know, I have a new sense of like being and living now that I stopped drinking. And like, it's one of those things that I wish other people would get to experience that. The clear mind, you know, anytime I speak to anybody who says they've stopped drinking or they're, you know, stopping drinking for now, I said, does your mind feel clear? It's amazing to hear what people say about the clarity of their mind once they've, you know, limited the intake. So that's the one thing that like I know has been the best for me, is just mental clarity and being able to see everything for what they really are. That's how I feel, you know, I feel clear. But in the end, I'm just a girl that was a social drinker, that was a stress drinker, that didn't think what I was doing was wrong. And, you know, for some people, they can do exactly what I did and everything's okay. But the trajectory of my life would be vastly different if I didn't change the avenue of where I was on.
Wow. Very proud of you.
Thanks.
And honored that you came on and talked to me today. So please follow Julie on social media. Her tags will all be on the, so I don't know the words that I'm trying to say right
My
now.
social media handle.
Thank you. Handle. Come on, Laura. You're not that old. Jeez. Sometimes I'm like, what's happening right now with TikTok? Because I'm not really on TikTok, but I need to be on TikTok. I have a TikTok and I had randomly done these things and then I was like, those are dumb. I'm deleting those. Why did I do those? And it was during a dark period too. So I'm like, don't look at my TikTok because that's not me. That was a different version of me. I think we can all look back on social media, MySpace.
Oh God.
And be like, why did I make that my profile photo?
Your top 5.
Why did I make that my top 5? Why did I put that out to the world?
Oh, it's funny.
But we live and we learn and we grow up. But make sure you follow Julie's handles. That's what I was trying to say. And any questions that you might have, you know, please send messages, DMs to the podcast, and I can get them to Julie. What's the gym that you're a personal trainer at?
I am a personal trainer at Butler Health and Fitness.
There you are. So if you want to join the 5 a.m. club,
the Breakfast Club, we would love to have you.
She's your girl. She is your girl, and wonderful human being, just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to taking care of your body and getting strong. And I think as a woman, I love lifting weights. Mm-hmm. I love lifting weights. I mean, I love riding a bike too. And I like doing a good bar class and a yoga class. I've done all the things, but man, lifting weights, it really, there is something about it.
Functional movement and longevity of life is a huge factor that we don't take into consideration whenever we think about strength training. And
I can't wait to see you in your 80s.
Oh,
you're going to be like, she's going to be that, you know, grandma, aunt, sister who's just still a baddie, still has the hair, the beautiful red hair and the shaved.
Most likely, yes.
Most likely, yes. And
more tattoos.
More tattoos. Pop on some like maybe hot pink lipstick or something. And, you know, pearls. I feel like I see you, you know.
Maybe.
And still lifting weights. She's still going to be lifting weights. I know it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Julie. It really was an honor.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you. This episode is brought to you by Butler County District Attorney Richard A. Goldinger, R.W. McDonald & Sons Incorporated, Robert Stevens Jewelers. Thank you to our sponsors for your support on our first season of the Alter Ego podcast. Be sure to click the link in bio for your discount for BetterHelp Therapy online. 10% off your first month. Thank you for tuning in to Alter Ego. Join me every Monday for a new episode, and be sure to click subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Follow us on Instagram at Alter Ego Podcast. Until next time, stay safe, stay hopeful, stay kind.